You're now tuned in to Underdog Talk. And I'm your host, Eric Jones Jr., the underdog with the heroic heart. And I have conversations with successful underdogs. And today I have Miss Dana Bradford-Majors. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Are you enjoying the heat, cold, warm? I don't know what we got going here.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah. So as a person that works in the schools, I do the bus route. So we go inside now, but still for those like 10 minutes, I'm just sweating. Like I've just been out there all day. So I'm ready for fall. Summer, you can just go ahead and exit.
Right.
When does fall start?
I think September 22nd.
So we got.
I've had friends tell me September 22nd because I'm ready for Halloween.
I'm just ready for it to get a little cooler. So before we get into today's conversation, I have a team, AAU team. We are called the Youth Cheat Code, and we have a fundraiser, and we're trying to raise money for gym rentals, more jerseys, training equipment, and trainers for our kids. They're 4th and 5th grade. The link will be in the bottom of the show notes, but donate, support the youth. We're just trying to make sure that parents don't have to pay for things because we know it's hard, especially being a parent. So the link will be at the bottom. So I know what you do now, but I kind of want to know who you was back in the day. Was it being an author, writing, all this stuff? Was that what you wanted to do as a kid, or it was something else?
So that was one of the many things that I wanted to do. As a child, you really have the imagination for like so many things. I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I knew for sure since kindergarten I always wanted to be a teacher.
Oh.
So I had some really dope teachers growing up, and for them to basically spark our imagination, taking us everywhere, and we would never leave the classroom. It was I just had really good teachers, and I wanted to be a teacher like that. I would say probably around 3rd or 4th grade, I started essentially trying my hand at writing, and I remember writing all these stories for my 4th grade teacher, and she just like, oh, okay, you got another story this week? And I'm like, yeah, read it. So she would, you could tell she was being tired, but she never clipped my wings. She would never say, Dana, not right now. Mm-hmm. So I would always give her the stories, and she would either tell me that you did a great job, or she was like, oh, you need to work on this one, so that's something that I've always wanted to do as well. So I didn't really get into actually writing for myself until I moved here to Indianapolis. And I remember writing in 2009 A Very Different Butterfly because growing up, I was always like the black sheep, people say. I was really shy, really quiet, wouldn't really talk to anybody. It would be places and everybody like, oh, you remember such and such? And I'm like, oh, yeah. They were like, you were there? I'm like, yeah. But I would never talk to anyone. Yeah. So it was just basically writing about my childhood, how I wanted to be friends with people, and ultimately finding my own way.
So, where are you from?
Mississippi originally.
So how was it growing up there? Because I remember as a kid, we used to go there for family reunions. It was always fun, but it was just hot. It was hot as hell. And y'all bugs in Mississippi, they're different. They not the same. Like they big for no reason. It's like what kind of bug is that? But I liked it so much I wanted to move there, but my mom, she wouldn't let me move with my cousins. But so how was it growing up there?
Well, it was. I had a different childhood. It was an interesting childhood, but I had at the time 4 sisters, two above me, 2 under me. So I was the middle child. So it was. I would say definitely I learned how to roast because of my sisters. Yeah. But it was fun. We used to go to New Orleans, Louisiana a lot. My mother is originally, her people from New Orleans, so we used to visit and just basically soak in that culture, and just basically come home and just be a regular old country kid running outside, no shoes on, just it was. I would say I had a pretty good childhood growing
up. Yeah. I'm from a small town, Michigan City, so it's like probably when they like in Mississippi, you have all the different. It's like a small city, but it was more white people than it was black people. So you dealt with some type of racism, but you kind of click with your people because everybody knew everybody. Everybody was related. I wasn't related to a lot of people because my dad was from Chicago and then my mom's family was from Michigan. So I wasn't related to people. My childhood was different because I have family, but I don't have family. Like my friend's family was my family. Like people be having stuff with their family or like family reunions or Sunday traditions. We didn't really have that. So it's like, man, I don't really know what family is like. So it was me going outside playing. That's it. And coming in and eating all the food. But I do know how to roast too because kids used to try to roast me and I had to get to the point of like, you're not about to keep roasting.
Exactly. You have to learn.
Yeah, I would say my sister know how to roast, but she don't. But she know how to because I was roasting. Like I was just a funny person. But we get it from my mom. She thinks she not. We get everything how we act just from her, and she'd be like, no. So, you say you were writing at a young age. You had some good teachers. I don't really remember my teacher. Well, our school was. I really don't remember too many teachers because I was bad. I didn't like school, so it wasn't like I had no teachers that really probably cared for me. So it's funny because I had that experience, but then I ended up in education. It's like, huh? I didn't like school, but now I've been in education for 7 years. So, but I do remember writing like at a young age, like writing those little books that you were supposed to write. So, what was like your imagination as a kid? Was it like you were superhero? Were you like an everyday person kind of writer? Like, what was your stories like when you were younger, or do you remember?
I can remember one story in particular. It was space bears in the search for honey, but honey was spelled backwards. So basically, it was you have these intergalactic space bears, and they're traveling the galaxy looking for this specific type of honey, and they come to Earth and they're exploring. It was supposed to be like a series, but of course, I was only in fourth grade, so so it was short lived.
Yeah, but that's cool that you remember that because sometimes we don't remember stuff like that. But why did you spell it backwards? Do you know why?
I was really into sci-fi growing up. So Quantum Leap, we used to watch Star Trek every now and then Star Wars for sure. So like we were really into Wi-Fi. My mom would allow us to watch scary movies and sci-fi movies like RoboCop and things like that. So I was really into that growing up. And then of course Thundercats, He-Man, She-Ra, all that good stuff.
I don't know what you talking about. Yeah, I heard of those, but I never got into sci-fi. Like I got a Star Wars shirt, and this dude at work was like, "Oh man, you up on the series? What are you talking about? I just got the shirt."
Because you thought the shirt was dope. That's so sad.
Yeah. I never really got into it. I remember in 5th grade we went to a field trip to watch it at the movie theater, and I was like, okay, this movie cool, but I never sci-fi, none of that. Get my daughter, she loves it. She watches that stuff. I don't.
Oh man,
scary movies.
So like the Mandalorian, none of that. You missing out.
No, I don't know. Like I was the type of kid. I was outside, and when I was inside, I was watching sports, mainly basketball. So it wasn't like I watched. I mean, I caught the shows that people watch, but I wasn't really a big. I'm still not like even movies. There's a lot of movies I ain't seen. I ain't gonna say them. But yeah, there's a lot of movies.
You might have to be revoking some cards. That's what it sounds like.
It depends. It depends on the movie, the genre of the movie, because I definitely don't. So, as you got older, because you say you were writing elementary, as you get older, did you continue to write, or were you? Were you always writing, or was it just a younger thing, and then it came back around as an adult?
So I stopped writing. Well, no, I did. I had another story that I wrote like in the 8th grade, and I never finished it. Excuse me. And then I would say probably 6th grade up to like 12th grade, I started writing poetry. So I was really big on poetry or what have you. And then I remember this person that I was really cool with at the time in high school. Like I would show her my notebook because I had like just pages and pages of poetry. and she found where my locker was and went and stole some poetry out of my notebook. So that really like stopped me writing for a while. But like if it ever came back to me or if something came back to me, I would write it, but I would definitely leave it at home because I was just like, why are you stealing my work?
So that's a question. Anything happened to this young lady?
Yes. Oh. But I mean,
yeah. Just, I mean, no, because that was like your own little thing, and yeah, okay. I was just making sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. We had a conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I remember doing poetry in like 4th grade, right? There's a girl I like, and I wrote her a little poem, and she showed the whole girls basketball. They're like, oh, he's so sweet. But I never really, like, I wrote poems throughout life. I wrote some recently, but I never really told anybody that, like, I do it. I like putting words together. Mm-hmm. Like, I like rapping, but I don't like writing it down.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So poetry is, I did poetry night for the first time ever. It was like, you could go on stage and everybody there was sad. They were just talking about sad shit. And I'm like, man, okay, I ain't come here to hear no sad stuff. So I literally was listening to somebody, wrote something down and went up there and did it. And I was like, this is cool. So I definitely like poetry and got some somewhere in some notebooks, but nobody ever see them and ain't nobody gonna take them.
You're right.
Yeah. But I do I'll tell you afterwards about journaling and someone.
Yeah. That's happened to me too.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I couldn't put hands on that person. Yeah, that's for another day. So, when you were in high school, college, what was life like? What was you going through? Were you still on the being a teacher? Were you sports? What was like that part of your life like?
I would say that's when I had like a paradigm shift of sorts. My older sister and I went to college together. Mm-hmm. And that cultivated a relationship with us where we became closer. So we were always hanging together, me, her friends, or me, her and my friends, or what have you. Yeah, just essentially trying to find who I was in that. Definitely still wanting to be a teacher. My goal was to be a technology teacher, which I am now. Mm-hmm. But they really didn't, I would say, they really didn't encourage women to go into technology. And so I was determined to be, a technology teacher or someone in technology, but ultimately I ended up changing my major to English, and then my minor was technology education. So after I graduated from college, I would say, after I graduated with my bachelor's, I moved home back with my dad because he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And then at the time, too, I was pregnant with my oldest son. And so I went home and took some substitute teaching positions. And then I started working for Bath and Body Works. But
you still work there?
No.
Oh, okay. No. I just wanted to discount.
Yeah, I knew you was gonna say that. No, I don't work there anymore. But that I would say that was definitely a growing experience for me, having to care for my dad and then having to care for a baby at the same time. So it was interesting then it grew me up really fast. Because I was like, okay, I'm responsible for more than one life now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and then the June of 2005, my cousin at the time, he was just basically like, hey, you say you want to go back to school and get a master's? I'm like, yeah. So he's like, we got this, they have this dual degree that we can go to school for, and you can still work full time. And so we went to Alcorn State University, and the Alcorn State University. So, so that's one of the many HBCUs in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And so, I met a lot of good people there. I met a lot of my friends there. And then it was just essentially people who encouraged me, people who looked up to me, and I was like, "Are y'all looking up to me?" Like, okay. And it was just really good. It was really family centered and friend centered. I enjoyed my time there, and that basically encouraged me not to give up on any dream that I have going to school at Alcorn, because if it wasn't for Alcorn, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Yeah.
So I definitely had a wonderful experience there, and then ultimately moving to Indianapolis, and that's where I met my husband.
Yeah, my college experience was a lot different. I went to school, dropped out because I went for technology, so I understand what you're saying. Like it wasn't a lot of girls in the classes that I was in, and it was for I was there for programming, but I wanted to be for networking. My mom was like, "Nope, you sticking with what you know," because back then it's like you go to college, that's kind of what you're supposed to do, and it's like I only went because I didn't want to stay at home. I didn't like her rules. So one college accepted me, and then I dropped out because my grades was horrible. I just wasn't with it. And then I went to school again at Ivy Tech, and I kind of got good grades, but it was like, this ain't it. So college was just fun. I do miss out on the networking part of it. Like you see people that you went to school with, like, dang, they doing this. Like, man, I could have, been networking or whatever. But other than that, like college does grow you up. Because my mom, they couldn't send, there wasn't no money sending home, there wasn't no care package. It was get a job, figure out how you was gonna make some money and live on your own. So that kind of grew me up quickly. So I didn't have the school, the educational part, but I had the learning and fun part. My daughter wants to go to HBCU, which she goes to IU right now, but that's what she wants to do after she goes there. And I feel like if me and my friends would have went to a school like that where you saw people, especially being from a small town, like you'd be like, man, you actually can do some things because you see people being successful that looks like you and come from where you come from. So shout out to all the HBCUs out there because that's a great experience for our culture. And they need to put some more money in them too.
Absolutely, 100%.
Just gonna say that, and I think a lot of us learned that from Deion Sanders, just from the school and seeing what his team went through and he went through, like behind the scenes, and you thinking like, oh, he a millionaire, he should be able to do, but it's politicians and all that different stuff where it doesn't pan out for everybody the same way, but it's still a great experience of being around people that look like you.
And successful people.
That's the part. Successful people, and they not drug dealing, they not hustling, they not doing stuff that's illegal. Because a lot of us see that when we're younger and we think that's the move, but it's really not. So, being a technology, so you said English was your major and your minor was technology. When did it switch?
I'd probably say my junior year of college. Just again, like I said, I really didn't have the support like I needed. You know what I mean? So, like, I would go and see my counselor. My counselor, like, these grades aren't it. You know what I mean? And I look at him like, see, he's getting degrees. I don't know what you mean.
Hey, I like that.
So, but he was just like, you have to have at least an 85%, and he basically wasn't really someone who was encouraging me. So I was like, if you know who I am, if I don't like your energy, I don't like your vibe, I'm out. So I told my sister, and I was just like, hey, I don't think this is it. Like, I don't think being here for this major is it. So USM, the University of Southern Mississippi, is known for their educational background. So I went ahead and I switched it from technology education to English lit. And I excelled. That was one of my favorite subjects in school anyway, so I knew I was going to do well. So I stuck with what I knew, and I got out.
I like that. So English, I don't know. Is speaking part of English? Like in the sense of it, kind of, sort of.
I would say yes, but I would say more along the lines of the mechanics of it and the foundations and everything like that. So that's what I went to school for, just basically the breakdown of how you actually speak English in America.
Yeah, because I was just thinking like I didn't like English. I didn't like the writing. I don't really like writing now, but I write a whole lot. But then in the reading part of it, I don't like reading. Like I learn a different way. So I was just sitting there thinking like, how do I end up speaking and I don't have like I didn't like the fundamentals or the mechanics of it at the beginning. Maybe I don't know. I was just thinking.
But I feel like too, anything that's worth learning, you should learn correctly, right? So even in that, anything that you try to learn gets boring. It depends on who your teacher or your instructor is. Again, like I said, I had good teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So they made me want to ultimately incorporate and make sure that when I teach, that nobody's bored. So I try to make sure it's as engaging as possible. So I definitely try to relate and have a rapport with my students, so that way they're so when they ultimately learn, I'm like, oh, okay, this is it. So when it comes to technology, both English literature and technology, I break it down in a way where it's just like, I'm not gonna let you fail, but these are the things that you have to do. And so I had I had one student tell me the other day, "Oh, your notes be lit, Miss Majors," and I'm just like, "Is that a good thing?" And so they're like, "Yeah, yeah." So that made me feel good as an instructor and as a person, because it's just like I'm really taking the time out to make sure that these kids get it. And when the light bulb comes on, it's just like, okay, thank goodness, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think I'm kind of like that with teaching because it's like, okay, I didn't like school. Why am I here? But I realized it's for me to have structure and being able to build up like the rapport. Like a lot of kids come up and tell me all kinds of stuff, and I'd be like, all right, so what? And they're comfortable with me. And then now I can talk to them, or if they acting up or they need some time to talk, they'll come and talk to me, and I can get them back in order. Be like, hey, let's make a deal. Let's do, if you go back and you don't do X, Y, and Z, I get you this. Or and they're like, okay, cool. Or they might be struggling, just help them. So me being a teacher is definitely, I had to take a lot of my personality out of it because I'm fun when it's kids. It's all this, but it's like no, you got to be more serious so they can learn first. So it took me a while to understand that, and I had to be teachable while I was teaching because if I wasn't, I would have been the same old person because I definitely was a rah teacher at first. And I'm like, but I had to learn. So I definitely understand what you're saying with that. So you have your publishing company.
yes, he made his post.
When did you start it? Why did you start it? And yeah, we'll just stick with those for the first.
Okay. So the reason why I started B Majors Publishing is because there was a need. And there's a need for Black boy joy. And so what I noticed is we encourage our Black girls. I mean, so I tell people all the time, I am the epitome of Black girl magic. You know what I mean? And that's not a humble brag. That's just what it is. God has bestowed so many things upon me that I feel like I'm genuinely blessed in that area. Excuse me, but also with that, it's just making sure that number one, I reached out for people to be my mentor. I asked for help. I knew that therapy was dope, so I went to therapy. Like I had to go through a complete paradigm shift to understand that number one, I'm worth it. Number two, I deserve, and three, make sure that I allow people to know that they're a blessing too. So yes, I will tell people all the time, I'm not here to for a seat at the table. I'm here to shake it. So with that, it's just me being a mother of both boys and girls. I noticed that we will pour into our Black girls, but what you will see for the regular for the Black boys, you see sports. You see something that doesn't basically entail just regular daily events for a child that happens to be Black. So with my kids, with my sons more specifically, they may not be into sports. Yeah, well, they are into sports, but what else are they into? You know what I mean? So what brought about B Majors Publishing is having a conversation with my 11-year-old son now. He's currently 11, but at the time he was 4, and he used to go to school where I used to work. And so we would get ready for school every day. And so he would be asking questions. And so at the time he was really into space and he was really into airplanes and cars and things like that. So he would talk about thrust, air, drag, and all that stuff. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, son, but okay. But those would be things that we would have conversations about. And so I remember him jumping on the bed and he was like, Mommy, look at me, look at me. And I'm like, oh, baby, don't jump on the bed. And he was like, why not? I'm trying to fly. And I was just like, well, baby, humans can't fly. And so he started asking me these series of questions. He was like, well, birds fly, mosquitoes fly, bats fly. And then he was just like, well, astronauts fly spaceships. And then he was like, we have hot air balloons. Mommy, you said that we can't fly, but we do. And I'm like, oh, shoot, we do. So I was just like, wow, this is really good. This is a really good story. So I put it together. It was in 2016. I put the book together in 2017, and just basically looking for illustrators, publishing companies. And at the time, when I was marketing the publishing company to or I'm sorry, the books to publishing companies, they were just like, oh, we love it, but we don't have a space for that genre, or for that story. So fast forward to 2020, the peak of COVID and quarantine. I spoke with one of my friends at the time, and who was a well-to-do poetry artist, and so he had already self-published like several books, and I was like, "Hey, bro, can you help me? I'm not sure what to do, but I know this is something that we need to do." And so he walked me through the steps. He was like, these are the things that you need to do in order to make sure that you self-publish." So I reached out to an illustrator at the time. Told her, I was like, "Hey, I'm a teacher. This is my budget. What can we do?" And so then she was like, "Okay, great. This is what we can do for this budget." We put the book together on Lulu. And I remember telling my sister, I said, "I think I'm just gonna debut the book on P3's birthday, which is in August." And she was like, "Is the book finished?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Do it now." And I'm like, she was like, "What you waiting on? Do it now." So I was just like, "Okay." So then we went on Facebook Live, and I was just like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna present P3 with his first book, Humans Can't Fly." So I would say probably within the first 3 months, we sold probably like 800 copies. And we sold copies in Mexico, we sold copies in Canada. And so, and then very soon after that, how Big Boy, I'm sorry, because Big Boy is Unafraid of Outer Space is the sequel to Humans Can't Fly, and it's based more on a bedtime story. So it was interesting to see that dynamic of, okay, this is a dream deferred to fruition. And so when it happened so quickly, because again we were in quarantine, so everybody's like, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, we don't have anything else to do but to buy these books." You know what I mean? So I would say 2021 was the year that we actually went and made it official with B Majors Publishing. So that way I was just making sure that, number one, the legacy is left with the company and the organization. If the kids decided that they wanted to move forward with the company, they have full access to it if something were to happen to me. And then two, just basically getting stories from people around the area that's in Indianapolis or in Indiana or anywhere really. But people fail to realize too that this is a one woman show. Yes, I do ask for third party outside help, and then of course, I'm contracting people in. But this is a one woman show, so everything that is transpiring is because of me, and it's very hard work.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. It reminds me of the lady. Her name is Natalie. She does the mobile bookstore, and she kind of started because of her son asking her like a question about books and stuff like that. So, and you're right. And I was thinking that to myself, because like I wasn't a reader, but it's like, okay, my son, he's not really a reader, but he struggles with it. So I'm like, okay, let's read together, or let me help him get on it more. Like, my bro was over, he had the boys read a story and then write out what they wrote. And like, I had a cousin, he tall, big, everybody like, oh, he plays sports. My man was trash. Like, he is. I'm talking about trash. I told his mom, I used to watch him. I'm like, the younger ones, yeah, they got it, but him, he just don't. He was smart, and that's what he does now with computers. And it's like, sometimes we can't look at people. I know another guy. He, like, I don't know what he does now, but he never did sports. But he's 6'7". It's like, we can't expect people just because they're tall to go out and play sports. We got to have them to do something else. And then I think with reading or any kind of learning, like, you got to figure out what's your learning. How do you like to learn? Because I think everybody's different. And then even being a teacher or educator, like, you got to understand some of your kids, they might learn better sitting on the floor. So, but I love that you started because of your own in your own backyard, and then now the world can see it. And then you started at a perfect time with COVID because everybody just was at the crib. I didn't love COVID because of the effects of it, right? But the sitting down, and that's when I started doing stuff. I created a clothing line for my son and named it after him. So if something ever happened to me, he got that. So it's like you had to take advantage of it, and then people are at home, people are reading, and then I know it was kind of like, dang, this is my son's story. Like, so it's a little different than just writing a story that, you thought of, or maybe you remember from when you were a kid. You're actually writing about your own child. So that's dope in itself. So I'm going to get into the questions. Okay. Because I'm sure people have a lot of questions. I definitely do, because I want to write a book, but I don't want to write.
Oh, well, I'm not sure how that's going to work.
I know. Because I started writing. I want to write a book about my life. I started it. I got chapter 1. Okay. That's it. And it's like, I'd rather talk it than write it, because I can talk better than I can write. But I don't want it to sound like I'm talking, if that makes sense.
I'll leave you to it.
No, okay. I'll give you a perfect example. So I'm a co-author in a book. It's like 5 or 6 of us. We all did our own chapter. Mm-hmm. And I started writing, and I'm like, this is frustrating. So I talked, but someone told me that got the book or read my chapter. It was like, it sounded like he was talking. It didn't sound like it was written out. So like that. So I don't want it to sound like that, but I do want to write. I wrote a script, like a play or a TV show about my life, because I live in the hood, and the last 3 years have been crazy. So I have 4 episodes. So I do like to write a little bit.
I was like, it sounds as if you like to write.
But I don't like, it's like, okay, if you were like, all right, we got to do a book. Somebody going to have to be right there every time I'm writing, because I'm going to write and I'm going to stop. But if you put a mic in front of me, I could talk whatever you need me to do. So I don't know. You can't be an author without writing. That's it. No. Okay, anyways. All right, anyways. What would you say somebody, because I feel like writing a book and podcasting is like everybody doing it. Mm-hmm. A person has book ideas in their head. What would be like the first thing that you would suggest them do? Because I think sometimes people don't realize how much it costs to be an author. It ain't cheap.
It's not.
It ain't cheap. It ain't, no. I was luckily to get in with some other fellas, and it was cool, but it still cost some money. So what would you tell somebody? Maybe they got the book idea, they don't, they got it on paper, they kind of got it in their head. What would you tell them some of the first things that they should do?
The first things first is, number one, do you have the gumption, and do you have the drive to stick with it? Because it's going to be some days where you don't want to do it at all. You don't want to look at it. You want to step away from it, which is fine, because it definitely could give you inspiration. But if this is something that you want to go in for the long haul, do you have the discipline to do it? And I think a lot of people don't. I think they have a superimposed image in their head of what it's supposed to be because of what we're so used to. Me growing up in the 80s, I remember watching movies where these people who will be with these publishing companies have these deadlines, and they will be going mad. Yeah. Like they're in front of a typewriter or they're in front of a notebook, and they're writing for their lives. And I never wanted it to be like that. You know what I mean? But we definitely have deadlines, but even in those deadlines, like they have to be pushed back because something may have happened, So with that, it has ebbs and flows. Are you strong-willed enough to go through those ebbs and flows, and are you determined and disciplined enough to stick with it? So that would be my first question to anyone. The second thing would be, are you going to spend your own money? How are you going to raise money for this? So it's several different ways, and I'm thankful again because I asked mentors, I asked people who were very successful in other businesses, like, hey, how did you start up? And I received a lot of great information where they were just essentially like, you don't have to spend your own money, or you need to do like a Kickstarter, things like that to help to to move forward with your dreams. Because it's one thing to have the money and to start your own business, but it's another thing to go into your money that you've been saving for something specifically, and you drained all your money because you're trying to live on this dream of yours that you want to see coming to fruition, and you don't want to do that because you definitely need to have a balance. Like, okay, this money is running out. This is all I got for this business. So, what are you going to do in order to make that money? Make sure that money is continuously coming in. So that's a big thing as well, making sure that you have the income to support your dream. So those are the two biggest things I would say, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. The discipline part. I think discipline is part of any success, no matter what it is. If you don't have it, because there's gonna be days where you don't want to do it. There's days where I don't want to do this. I hate editing. I know with this episode we gotta edit just because the memory card thing. So they know we gotta edit. I gotta edit. But right, so it's days where you don't want to do it, but then it's like you said, you can take a day off or two or whatever, but you gotta understand, get back on that horse. And then, like you said, when you got your 9 to 5, you got your bills that then went up, and your 9 to 5 didn't go up, but then you also like, I don't really want to work this 9 to 5. I want to do this over here. You got to figure it out with the money. You got to do all kinds of stuff. Like I just learned a little hack to do with the podcast from somebody sending a video, and it's like, even though I'm a beginning podcaster, I can take that and make some nice money off of it. And when I get to a little more, I can make enough where I could go and be like, hey, yep, I'm done here.
Right.
Ain't no need for me to come back. Don't look for me to come back because I ain't coming back. So that's the same thing with writing. I remember they were like, yeah, you got to have X amount of dollars. You got that, then you in, and then you got to pay the rest. And I was looking around, and my ex-wife, I think we was dating at the time, and she was like, go ahead, do it. Because it's like, if you don't do it at that time, that money ain't going to be there.
At all.
You're going to be like, dang, I had it then. Because I think when people are trying to be entrepreneurs or have their own business or do a project, we can spend money on stuff that don't matter. But when it comes to stuff that matter, I don't know if I got it. It's kind of, I don't want to say like take us to church like tithes. It's like, if I get these tithes, I ain't really got it, but God, the one that gave it to you, so you gotta. It's like you gotta do the important things 1st, and discipline. You gotta have that discipline
for sure.
So, when writing, what for you? What were things that inspired you to write, and what would you tell? What's the best space to write in?
Oh man, what inspired me to write was just I really didn't have an inspiration per se. I know that sounds weird. I was just that kid. You know what I mean? So I was always into the book fairs, troll, all that stuff, and so I was just like really into it. So I was like, I can do this. I can do this. So that was just, I would just say that I just looked at it and was just like, okay, yeah, this looks easy. And so, and it's not, but but at the same, but once it comes to you, it comes and like it flows. You know what I mean? So definitely the inspiration has to be there for sure. And what was your second question? I'm sorry.
Like the space, because I guess it'd be different for everybody. I think I had somewhat of a other question, but like, what kind of the space would you, somebody that never wrote a book that wants to write a book? Because I think sometimes people might be writing. Well, I guess it's just different for you, or suggestions you have for people.
It's interesting. I can write if it comes to me. I can write anywhere. I remember writing on the airplane. I remember waking up out of my sleep. It's like, oh, here's a great idea. So writing out that. Sometimes I write out of frustration. Like, oh, I need to finish this book, you know. And so if I'm frustrated with certain things, like I will essentially become laser focused and like, okay, I need to get this done. So I would definitely go back to my notebook and finish a story or something like that. So I would say definitely for people who are beginner writers, Find a space where you're comfortable. If you like listening to music, don't listen to nothing that's gonna hype you up. Because you'll be sitting up like, you know, and that story may not come out to how you want it to be. Yeah. But I definitely listen to music. I listen to chill hop a lot on YouTube. Mm. That just basically puts me in a spirit or in a vibe of, you know, just being calm and relaxed and just essentially letting the ideas flow. But definitely be in a space where you're comfortable, where you're calm, where you feel as if there are no distractions, things like that. So you could for sure, you know, allow for your brain to start thinking of ways and ideas of how to get your story going.
Yeah, I think because I was sitting there thinking before I asked, the reason I asked because I think sometimes people overthink. Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know, just write. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes you just gotta write. Like I feel like that when I do videos, it's like just do the video. I don't care if you're in the Uber, if you somewhere, just go where the background noise ain't too bad, but you just gotta do it whenever it comes to you. Cause I notice I'll do that. I'll be like, oh, I'll come up with an idea, right? Don't write it down like I'm gonna remember it in the morning. I'm gonna do it in the morning. Nope. Don't remember it, and it's a fire idea, and I'll be like, hey, what was it? What was it? So even if I am like don't want to get up and do it, I write it down so I can remember. Even if I don't remember the whole context of it, I remember enough to do that because I think we miss ideas and we miss opportunities for ourselves when we don't write it down right away.
Agreed.
And calendar too, because I don't.
I live by my calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it's not happening.
Well, I live by oops. Dang, I got something to do today. Like, I don't know. I'm working on it, but yeah. So, traditional publishing or self-publishing? Well, I guess you kind of answered that because you got your own. But
well, yeah, I mean, but it depends. What's more lucrative? Like, are you sitting on an idea where if a publishing company comes to you and they say, okay, well, this is a great idea, we want to go ahead and move forward with it. Here is a contract. Here is the money, all the money up front. If they put you on a tour, you know, on a publishing marketing tour or whatever, I would say go for, you know, traditional publishing. But again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with self-publishing either. But you have to know at the end of the day, like this is you. Mm-hmm. Like if you're not publishing, if you're not pubbing it, then it's not happening, you know. And then you just have to make sure that number one, two, you have to make sure that you realize that you're gonna have to be a people person, mm-hmm. and if that's not you, you're gonna struggle. Mm-hmm. And so, again, I had to do a paradigm shift to where I was just like, okay, well, if I want these books to sell well, I have to be a personable person. You know what I mean? So people have to come up to you and they ask questions and they're gonna be excited to see you and things like that. And you have to be just as excited. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's just making sure that number one, you're marketable if you're doing self-publishing, and two, you do have to be friendly and cordial and ensure that the people who are interested in you and interested in your ideas, they continue to be interested in your ideas, and they make sure that they continue to support you. And so I would say for sure, if you're going to do the traditional route, which is, you know, traditional publishing, for sure, I would go for that if that contract and that money is lucrative and good for you. But I mean, there's actually nothing wrong with being a self-publisher either. Just know that that's going to be you, 100%.
Yeah, and yeah, I think people don't realize that because I had a friend. She just wrote a book, and she was, you know, she did the tradition. I think she did the traditional way, but it's like you would want to do it the self-publishing way, but then when you realize, oh, I gotta do everything. Everything. And it's because I think it depends, like you said, that's almost sounds like a record deal, like with traditional publishing, and mm-hmm. even like what I was explaining that on podcasting. It's a lot of different ways that you can get with a company, and then they'll set you up, but then you don't know what kind of contract they gonna have, or however many books or however many whatever you got to do. So it's like the self publishing is cool, but then I think for me, I would go with the route of going with somebody that already done it, just so I don't have to do all the other extra stuff that I don't like to do in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I guess it would just depends on the person. And is the traditional way? Which way is cheaper?
Traditional. Traditional. I would say for sure traditional. But also you have to keep in mind too, hire an attorney to look over any contracts. Hire an attorney to look over any contracts. If you have a cousin that's an attorney, anybody who is well versed into seeing what these companies are doing, please have them to look into it and see if it's more lucrative to be with traditional publishing or if it's better to be self-published. I would say for sure it's just making sure that you CYA for sure, because like you said, okay, if these are a certain amount of books that need to be sold at this certain amount of time, if you don't do it, you owe the company. Yeah. So you don't want that. So for sure, you just have to make sure that you are, you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's when it comes to any type of business, because at the end of the day, it's a business. Yeah, and you gotta get a lawyer for anything. Mm-hmm. Like if you're in business, it don't matter. Get you a lawyer, like, because you don't want to be a hit. You don't want to get success, and then taxes come or whatever come that you didn't even read about, and you like, wait, where does that come from? And now you looking like TLC, and, right? Yeah, because you didn't have the right people around you. So that's definitely important to have a lawyer. I don't care what you're doing. You could be the publishing company, the author, whatever. Make sure you have a lawyer for what you do, because it'll save you a lot of pain in the long run. What are, because I feel like I didn't touch everything that I want to touch, but what are some tips, 3 tips? Somebody got a book, they read it, they wrote it, and they need the next steps. What are the next things that you would say they do? They got it all on paper. They Grammarly'd it themselves, but now they think they're ready to go out there and get the book published. What would you tell them 3 steps to do after they got it, and maybe they only edited it? They didn't take it to nobody yet. They need to take it to someone else. Mm-hmm. You make sure that you have a second set of eyes, somebody that's trustworthy, number one. You have, you have students who are in school that does this. Like you have professional editors. Take it to Ivy Tech. Take it to a college, and it's like, hey, this is a book. Are you interested in reading it? Or you can go on, I would say, Fiverr or any place like that to have someone to look over your work. Because once you publish that body of work and people see mistakes, like, oh yeah, no, we're not reading this, we're not getting into this. Because the unfortunate part about that is when self-publishing, everybody feels like you have to do everything yourself. No, this is where you outsource. And so for sure, making sure that you have somebody who's looking over your body of work that's an expert, that's skilled in that set. 2, making sure that if you do plan on doing these things yourself, these steps yourself, these directions yourself, you go to the best YouTube university you possibly can, because it's difficult. It's very difficult. Again, I can't emphasize enough how blessed I was during quarantine, because I paid for a lot of stuff, but because it was quarantine, people had time to be overproductive. And so when you found somebody who could do those things for you, and I'm like, okay, this is the budget I have. What can you do with this budget? It's people still getting paid, but they had the opportunity to sit down and like, okay, be very meticulous about it. But everything that you are willing to do, make sure that you have the money to do it. Don't just put out trash work, because people are not going to take you seriously. So I would say, number 1, make sure that you hire an editor. 2, make sure that you are outsourcing to people who, number 1, have quality work. And that includes putting the book together. That includes marketing the book, anything like that. So just making sure that you have the money to make sure that you are, devoting that time and putting that you're inputting into yourself. You're essentially giving back to yourself to make sure that you have quality work.
I love those tips. Yeah, definitely an editor. I probably need everything I write edited by somebody professional because my text messaging start off bad, and I know what they do, and then I'd be like, man, I gotta start writing better. I ain't gonna lie to you, I love AI. It helps out us people that don't know how to write.
Put things together.
Yeah, put
but
it together.
I mean, an expert will know that it's AI. As somebody who has attempted to try to get over on me on AI a couple of times, I'm like, yeah, that's AI.
Okay, so I need to go back to my old days of reading something, taking some words out, make it sound like me.
Paraphrasing.
Yeah, paraphrasing. Okay, got you. Because I was.
No, yeah, for sure. AI has made it easy for everybody, and I think for me, like I have a love tolerate relationship with AI only because I'm an author, and this gentleman, he actually caught a lot of flack for it. He actually used AI for his illustrations. He used AI to actually make his story, and he made money off of it. And so he basically was like, yeah, it really don't have to be an author. You could just go to AI write the story for you. And I'm just like, well, what about us? You know what I mean?
And that's the world we live in. It's like cars and all the technology, or even sports, like the stuff that these kids have that we would have loved to have, and it's just the world that we live in. But that kind of sucks because that's not authentic. I think not. Like I use it for promotion and stuff like that, but for the most part, I'm putting in how I want it to sound. I just want it to sound a little better, and I might change it up. Like I'm not really using it to make it sound like AI, because like you said, a lot of people can. Boy, you don't talk. Boy, you don't talk like that. You ain't never put that word with that. So, I mean, it is a love or hate, because like with being on social media, you use it, but then you don't want to get caught up in it, and then you do want to write, and then you go to AI, and then it's like, this don't even sound like me. Because I would never, if I ever wrote something, I want it to sound like me. I want you to feel every emotion I had when I wrote it. I want you to feel how I felt. I want to walk you through the story instead of you just reading like, oh, okay. And I don't think that would happen with AI. I
do feel like it's a good assistant.
Yeah.
Now, as far as like guiding someone, for sure, use it as a framework. Don't use it as your work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I like that. So, tell people how they can reach you on social media. How, yeah, I guess social media. I was about to say on the web, on the internet. I'd be sounding old, but yeah. Tell people how they can reach you on social media.
Our social media is B Majors Publishing. B Majors Publishing Instagram, B Majors Publishing Facebook, B Majors Publishing TikTok. Even though we haven't put a TikTok in a while, I'm just not a fan. Like I watch TikTok, but I watch TikTok through Instagram. Ain't that crazy?
I don't. I call it ticky tack. I don't really. I got on it when I was a preschool teacher, and it was fun because I had a whole lot of video or content from being a teacher. But I don't know.
I genuinely cannot do not another social media. Like I am at my social media capacity. Yeah. But I made sure that I have B Majors Publishing TikTok, because ultimately my goal is to have a social media marketer. So once I hire that person, they'll be able to do all that stuff.
Yeah, me too. I need that hire. I need a social media manager, because I hate social media. I don't like being on it because it's so addictive.
Yes.
Like I go on there, post a video, or I'm waiting for my video to load, and I get to scrolling. Now I'm looking at stuff. It's like I don't really want to be on here. Or you just get caught up in. People get caught up in looking at what other people do. And for me, I try to give people where, like, I want you to see I started here, and event I walked you through the steps of it. I don't want you to be like, oh yeah, I'm doing all great and all this. No, you gotta show people how to get there instead of just tell them how to get there, because you could tell them how to get the water, but don't mean they gonna drink it.
That's true. My goal was like ultimately. I tell a lot of people I try to be my authentic self, but at the same time, it's a part of me that wants to stay in my bubble with my people in my circle. So I definitely don't want to be famous. But I definitely want to be known for my work and what I've showcased and what legacy I'm leaving for my kids. And so I I know that there's probably a fine line, but I definitely want to stay in my authentic self without the fame. Yeah, but definitely give me the fortune, but not the fame.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but it depends on what you do and how big of an influence you are on social media. To where I feel like people know me and stuff, but I want my house. I don't know if you ever heard of Jamal King. He does real estate, a 9 to 5 millionaire, but his house has everything that, like, you don't have to leave the house to do nothing, but not even grocery shop because somebody does that. But that's how I want my house. I want the court. I want the pool. I want everything at home because I don't want to go outside. Because outside, it's like the energy you get. It's like I'm gonna have a small enough people to where we gonna have fun. Now we go on trips and go other places, but I don't want the fame. I want the fortune, but I don't want the fame.
Right.
Well, I want a little bit of fame to be able to. I feel like the fame will be able to put my kids or have them around certain people and make me look like a cool dad. So,
well, of course, that's a given.
Yeah.
But it's just making sure that there are boundaries with that fame.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I could have if I could be diet famous, I would say.
Yeah, because nobody gonna know who I'm talking to until I probably say I do. We might be married 5 years because I feel like social media ruins a lot, or just when you're doing a lot, people in your business. Like, you don't need to know who I'm talking to. You don't need to know nothing. You don't nothing. Because guess what? I'm not going home to you. I'm not going home. Like, I never liked social media with relationships. It's like, wow, who is that? They paying these bills? They helping us? They not okay. I don't care what they got to say. Like, exactly. I give two shits about the people on social media, and that's why I don't say much because I say a lot of probably controversial stuff because I think outside the box and I just like to question everything. So that's why I just stick to being me. But you told everybody how to reach you. We need a closing word. Oh, no. Before the closing word, I need a quote.
A quote?
Yep. It could be your quote, whatever kind of quote. It could be to help somebody want to be an author, though, or somebody that, they don't know if they want to do the traditional or if they want to do self-publishing. They're an inspiring author. They need some type of motivation.
Anything that you do, you need to make sure that you have faith, consistency, support, and hard work. Anything that you do. You need to have faith, consistency, support, and hard work. Anything.
That's simple. And I want y'all to see what she said first. Faith. Faith comes first. And I'm learning that. I'm learning that, like, hey, God, let me talk to you first before I go and do something. Or you think of an idea or something and you talk to the wrong person, they could talk you out of it. And God can be like, that's your fault. I had something in store for you. But you wanted to go over there and listen to old girl, but hey, that's on you.
I mean, even with that, it's like faith in yourself. Like, even the times that you get down on yourself and you start demeaning and belittling your work, it's just like, no, I have faith. I've made it this far. Why would I stop now? Why am I stopping now? Like, you don't need a star to see yourself shine at all. Yeah. So because you are the star. Yeah. So for sure.
Yeah. Because doing this, and if you doing stuff by yourself, it's gonna be days you want to throw in that white flag. I'm telling you, is because life be life.
I was just about life be life.
But then, like, it could be that day you gave up. And that could have been the day you got the yes you needed or whatever it could be. So it's like you got to keep going even when it looks ugly. And that's why social media it's not the devil, but it got traits. Yeah. Because you watch other people and you're like, dang, man, they just started last year and they ain't just started last year. Trust me.
No.
They just start posting last year.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, I normally tell people I post and ghost because I try not to scroll because it's just like I've learned too. You drink water and mind your own business. Like, mind your business. Make sure that you're paying attention to your family, your business, and that's it. Like, you could be friends with people. That's not a problem. Like, you can have people to confide in or whatever, but for the most part, mind your business. So, for sure.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
What she said, mind your business. I mind my business. Because I think minding other people's business cost. It ain't money. It costs your energy. It costs your time. It could be some stress involved. So yeah, mind your business. I'm still figuring out how to say closing. So we gonna give us something we can end on. I don't like saying closing words on like church.
Something we can end on. Let me see. Something I always say. This is your child's favorite teacher, now your child's favorite author and your favorite CEO. Signing out. Thanks so much for having me, and make sure that you follow me on social media. B Majors Publishing.
Keep being great. Have a great day.